On the weekend of February 22, 2025, an email landed in the inboxes of federal employees across the United States. This was not your average don't reply all email reminder. This email from the Office of Personnel Management came with a chilling demand, courtesy of Elon Musk, President Trump's efficiency czar. Employees were instructed to list 5 accomplishments from the previous week. Failure to comply? Resignation. That's right, hand over your 5 bullet points or hand over your badge. Musk, no stranger to unconventional management styles, looking at you, Twitter, framed this as a pulse check on the federal workforce. He claimed, without a shred of evidence, that a significant portion of federal employees were either slacking off or, even more outlandish, deceased and fraudulently collecting paychecks. The man who once tweeted, "I only work 40 hours a week to comply with labor laws," suddenly cared about productivity. The email sent shockwaves through the federal workforce. Was this a joke? A poorly timed performance review? The lack of clarity and the severity of the consequences left employees bewildered and anxious. Unsurprisingly, the legal challenges came swiftly. The State Democracy Defenders Fund filed a lawsuit alleging that Musk's ultimatum violated labor laws. They argued that the demand for a list of accomplishments with the threat of termination was illegal and aimed to halt the mass layoffs tied to the email. Adding to the confusion, federal agencies themselves seemed unsure of how to respond. The FBI, State Department, Homeland Security, and the Pentagon instructed their employees to ignore the email. Meanwhile, the Department of Health and Human Services initially told employees to comply, only to backpedal later, asking them to pause activities. Senator John Curtis, a Republican from Utah, expressed concern for the impact this would have on federal workers. He worried about their mortgages and livelihoods, highlighting the real-world consequences of this chaotic directive. The email was just the tip of the iceberg. Thousands of federal employees, many of whom were on probationary periods, found themselves out of work. Over 75,000 employees, enticed by buyouts, had accepted offers to leave their positions. This mass exodus was part of a larger plan orchestrated by Musk to shrink the federal government. The impacts were felt across numerous agencies. The Department of Veterans Affairs saw over 1,000 employees let go. The Department of Defense dismissed 5,400 probationary workers. The Education Department lost 39 employees and faced $900 million in cuts. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau was effectively shut down. The list goes on. Musk's efficiency crusade resembled less of a scalpel and more of a chainsaw, indiscriminately cutting through essential government services. Musk's justification for this mass layoff, the so-called pulse check, reeked of a half-baked idea concocted during a late-night Twitter scroll. He offered no evidence for his claims of widespread fraud and non-performance. The reality was far less sensational and far more human. Federal employees, the backbone of countless essential services, were left in a state of uncertainty and fear. Families were grappling with lost incomes and futures thrown into disarray. The very notion of public service was under attack. The long-term consequences of this chaotic episode remain to be seen. What is certain is that the pursuit of efficiency, devoid of empathy and evidence, comes at a hefty price. And that price is being paid by the very people who dedicate their lives to serving the nation.